We are here with the two founders of Small Giants, Eduardo and Francesco, and today we're going to talk about insects and how they are going to be essentially the food of the future. So welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi everyone.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. All right, so we have a lot to talk about today. So first of all, I would start on how exactly, from your personal standpoint, you guys got interested into the edible insect world. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will go first on this one. And so Eduardo and I actually were very close friends since a very long time. And we are from Milan. And actually everything just started as two friends chatting about the world. And we, at that time, we just discovered a new report from FAO. And we were amazed and we were really surprised to understand that there were so many people all around the world that were considering and are considering insect as food. And actually, and honestly, we didn't know a lot about that. So actually, this was the wow factor for us. And from at the same time, we understood that insects are a very sustainable way to get some protein. So just combining these two, it was a click in our mind. And from the very beginning, we just wanted to find out a way to introduce also in the West, where insects are not considered as food so far, them as a new food. So actually everything has started from here, and of course we are very attentive to sustainability in general and also to sustainability in food. So we can say this was the beginning.
So it was both the wow factor of a new kind of food, which is essentially extremely sustainable and extremely like planet positive. So that was basically what was fascinating to you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was fascinating just to discover that. And at the same time, from the very beginning, for us was kind of a challenge. So I don't know, that also was pushing us. So what not just about being sustainable, but also was something completely different, something completely new just for us in the West. So there are a lot of other sustainable food, but people in the West, they know about that. So there was not the challenge. And for us in that case, there was a big challenge to face. And I don't know, I mean, that is the moment where we also discovered that we could have been entrepreneurs ourselves.
And this, my understanding, comes from a very personal sort of a standpoint. So you guys made some precise choices in diet, right? So also you, as a person, are very like attentive, and this kind of product reflect your lifestyle in some form or another.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, in some ways, this kind of products is kind of perfect for us because both Eduardo and I were vegetarian. Eduardo has been vegetarian for such a longer time than I. So I guess it's around 8 years, something like that right now. And for me, I has always been the so-called flexitarian. So kind of trying to reduce all the time all the traditional animal-based food in my diet. And just in the last 6 to 9 months, I decided also to go vegetarian, so not eating meat. At the same time, what we are against is the livestock industry, so the meat industry. We are just against that. We are not against eating animals. We are against that system. And this is why we choose not to eat animals because 99% they are from a livestock industry system. So I was saying that they are perfect for our diet just because they are a source of sustainable protein. So the cricket flour that we use in our snack, they are a sustainable source of protein. And that's why, and also they are a snack. So it's a very easy way to introduce in your diet. And we are also looking for alternative and sustainable protein, because if you are missing all the traditional animal-based food, you need to look for something different.
Awesome. So let's dig a little bit deeper on the why of eating insects in general. We've discussed a little bit about culture, about you started talking about sustainability and nutritional content. So let's go maybe the big reason why insects are a viable and a very interesting source of food.
Okay, yeah. So I will start just explaining a little bit more about the sustainability side of edible insect, and then Eduardo will help me with the nutritional part as well. So it is meant to be the food of the future because actually it has some outstanding properties in terms of sustainability. So they are a very efficient way to gain, in particular, protein. So it's not everything just about protein. They are also high in vitamin B12, for example, not just vitamin B12, but a lot of several different minerals and other vitamins as well. But the main point is about protein. And why they are so efficient, because actually they need just a very small amount of natural resources. And when compared to the other traditional animal-based food, there is no comparison. I mean, we are talking about something completely different. It's another game. So the difference is enormous. For example, just
Awesome.
talking about greenhouse gases.
Mm-hmm.
If you take crickets and if you take cattle, cows, the greenhouse gases emission is 0.01% of the cow's greenhouse gases emission. And at the same time, they don't emit methane. So this is just for the greenhouse gas emission. At the same time, the water usage and the land usage, also in this case, there is no comparison. They are just using a very tiny amount of natural resources as water and land. And then there are a lot of other reasons. So I will suggest anyone is listening to us to jump to our website, where we have a very well-detailed web page that is just dedicated to all these numbers and all these data with all the sources, because there are a lot of reports, a lot of researches, and so these are facts. And
so I have a question which is a little bit provocatory in a way. What is the element that can convince someone that eating bugs would really help reduce our impact on the planet? So what is the single thing that in your opinion, guys, is really convincing? Because there is a lot of theory behind, but what you think it's specifically like powerful? You've been in the industry for long, you're expert in the industry, so I was curious, what is this element, this single element?
I think the single element, it should be sustainability. So it should be to have just a wider approach to our everyday diet and thinking about this is one of the many different way we need to introduce in the diet if we want to do a proper transition from an animal-based
Awesome.
food diet to another one. At the same time, it could be just a curiosity. So actually people could be driven by the curiosity. So people could just be willing to try because it's something completely different. And they also understand, like all of us trying bugs for the first time, we just understand it's another food culture. So it doesn't mean it is a stupid one. Not at all. It's just another food culture. And there are more than 2 billion people all around the world eating insects. So there is no reason for not eating them. And
Awesome.
yeah, I think maybe these two.
Thank you, no, Francesco. Awesome. So let's talk about the nutritional aspect of insect as a superfood. So I was curious about how exactly this computes into the big debate of, the nutritional quality and what is the latest research on that.
Yeah, I will take this one. And yeah, insects are very, like we talk about sustainability and we talk about like how small is the environmental impact of insects. But on the other side, there is also the nutritional aspect. And insects actually are like very, very interesting. And especially in terms of protein, they are, for example, we talk a lot about crickets because we focus a lot on crickets. And yeah, because our products are made out of crickets. So like crickets, for instance, have 70% of protein, and this is quite high, especially compared with beef or chicken, which is 20, 23, 25%. So the difference is really huge. Of course, you have to take into account that like the powder from insects is dry, while chicken and beef are generally like they have some water in it. But even like when you dry them, like the difference is still there. So like they're really, really high in protein. And it's not only a question of a matter of quantity, it's also a matter of quality. And because they are a complete source of protein, as most animal protein sources. But compared to vegetable and compared to cereals and pulses, the difference is huge because like there is just one plant-based protein source which is complete, and that one is soy. So apart from that, all the rest of the protein sources that comes from plants are actually incomplete. And when I say complete or incomplete, it means that they are lacking some essential amino acids. And essential amino acids basically are the building blocks of protein. So having all the amino acids, it means that they are complete. And yeah, well, you don't have like to study a lot. Like you can just eat it and you'll have all the nutrition that you need for the protein side. So it's really, really important that you have a complete source of protein. And also something that is really interesting is that crickets are rich in vitamin 12, which is an essential vitamin. And again, this is not basically it's nowhere in the plant-based products because there are some you can find some vitamin B12 in some vegetable foods, but it's not really something that can be used by our body. So for example, there were a lot of studies regarding the presence of B12 in spirulina, but actually like the evidence suggests that this is not usable by our body. So we will need to use pills or supplements if we go for a vegan or vegetarian diet, while using insects as a food, like you will get like naturally without any pills whatsoever, a source of vitamin B12, which is very important.
Awesome. So there are a ton of rational reasons to actually be a big fans of edible insects. I was also curious about more the emotional and cultural aspect of it and how exactly people are perceiving it. So there are cultures that have been eating insects essentially forever. Western cultures, they didn't really get to that point. So what is your take on this side, on the cultural side of eating insects?
So what we can see is that there are completely different approach all around the world, just towards insect as food. So in some cases, in some cultures, they are just considered as an everyday food. Sometimes they are even delicacies. So sometimes they could be very high priced. And in other cultures, they are perceived as something doesn't have to be eaten. So kind of a taboo. And in the West is where insects are still kind of a taboo. At the same time, I think it's very important to see everything in a wider timeline. So there are so many other food that in our culture and in our food history has been considered as a taboo or something. It was not suitable to be eaten, something it was sometimes considered to be poisonous. And I'm thinking about tomatoes. So for example, tomatoes that nowadays are just a staple in our food, in our cuisine, something we eat every day. In Italy, for example, without tomatoes, I don't know what could happen. But they are that important. At the same time, they just came a few hundreds of years ago from America, and for more than 200 years they were considered to be poisonous. So they were not even eaten, and they were just kind of something ornamental. And I mean, there are a lot of different examples. I'm also thinking about lobsters, and at the same time, I'm thinking about sushi. So just considering sushi, let's say 20 years ago, sushi was not trend, was not easy for people to consider fish also as raw fish and a lot of stuff. But then just in a few years, everything has changed. And what we witness every day is that everything is changing very fast. And so I think that this could be the case as well of insect. The main point is just to understand how to help people accepting insects. And in our case, the idea is just to do that with some snacks. And so instead of having the whole insect, instead of having the whole crickets, there's a whole locusta or other kind of insect, is way easier to have them as part of something is familiar to us. And something is very familiar and is a food we eat every day, for example, are crackers. And so this is what we want to do as Small Giants. So we want to help everyone to start tasting as a first time something like crickets, and to understand that they are something not just easy to be eaten, but at the same time they have a lot of amazing properties. And after that, after the first taste, the first bite is very easy. I mean, it's if you like it, if it's a good product, so you like it as a good product, and you understand what are the properties. The most important one, we think, is the first step.
So the mission, your mission in a way, is really to get people to at least try and go beyond the mental blocks that can be there from wherever, for whatever reason. Just get a snack, try it, realize it's not only delicious, but also it really impacts the planet in a sustainable way. And there you go, you open the door essentially. That's super interesting for sure. Let's talk about diets again. So you're flexitarian, and Eduardo is more of a vegetarian. So I'm curious about.
I was.
You were okay, cool. So there is some changes here happening. Okay.
I mean, I came from being a flexitarian to be fully vegetarian.
Got it. Got it.
But
So I'm
it-
curious to see how exactly edible insect enter a diet of a flexitarian or of a vegetarian. So how exactly does it can be considered like part of that diet?
Yeah, I will start with my personal experience. So like basically I decided I wanted to stop eating meat, and I wanted also to look for an alternative protein source. And I read a little bit, as Francesco mentioned before, I read a little bit about like the potential of edible insects, the use that is made of the in many countries they use like edible insects, and they've been using them for a very long time. And so like we started, both me and Francesco started digging into the research about edible insects and so on. And actually it made a lot of sense. So like when we talk about a vegetarian diet, basically it should be 100% plant, like this is the vegan part, and after there is for example milk and eggs, so products that come from or a chicken or a cow in form of milk and something like that. So technically there is no animal and no animal protein in a 100% vegetarian diet or a vegan diet. But we actually think that eating insects makes a lot of sense also for the people that are adopting this lifestyle. It makes sense because of the environmental side of things that we talked before, but also it's also good to have different food that you can eat. For example, I mentioned before, there is only one plant protein, which is soy, which is complete. So probably it's better to have a lot of diversity, and insects are a very big opportunity. There are more than 2,000 species that are edible, and so there is a lot of potential of diversity, and it makes a lot of sense to include insects also in a vegetarian diet. And it's even better for the people that are willing to reduce their meat consumption. So for the flexitarians, so they don't want to quit immediately their meat consumption. They still want to use some meat, but they are very aware of the implication of the environmental impact of the livestock industry and etc. So yeah, I think we don't have to be in Italian we say black and white. So when we approach this discussion, we have to understand that being 100% a vegetarian or 100% vegan maybe is a little bit too much. Also, we have to consider that insects, for example, are killed for when you grow a tomato, there are aphids on the plant, tons of aphids on the plant, and under the soil there are tons of insects. So in a way, even a tomato is not 100% vegan, for example, because there is the killing of insects is involved anyway. Of course, we have to minimize the impact and be very I don't know how to say, but we have to respect every animal, of course, and this is very important for everyone. But probably saying, oh, we just have to eat plants is not the right answer, at least in our opinion. It is one of the best solutions that we have at the moment. So trying to reduce the meat consumption, try to eat more plant-based food, but also insects will be a very important part of our diet in the future, at least in our opinion.
So I believe that a big argument that vegetarian and vegan use in terms of why they decide to adopt this kind of diet refers to animal suffering and pain in particular. So a lot of them, the argument is okay, I don't want to be part of this culture that inflicts pain to beings in general, so that's why I decide to eat plants. How does this argument apply to edible insect and eating insect in general? Would it apply? Would it be different? What's the position here?
So it's a very interesting topic and a very interesting question. Of course, it's a little bit tricky to answer that, but like we have to consider that pain is a personal experience and it's very subjective. And I'm not talking just like about me and you and everyone else, but more in general as a species, like what a human feels. It doesn't really apply to all of the other animals, and particularly to insects, which have like a very different brain and system, basically, neurological system. So it's like it's very difficult to say they feel pain or they don't feel pain, because like it's very difficult to define the boundaries of pain. And they, of course, insects have some responses to what's happening around them. For example, if there is a source of heat, they run away. But like actually we found like some scientists found out that this doesn't apply only to insects, but also, for example, to bacteria. Mm-hmm. Like they tend to move away from very acid water or something like that. So it's really difficult to say like this proves that they feel pain. And actually, from an evolutionary point of view, it doesn't make sense that insects should feel pain, because basically they for insects, the importance is in the group, not in the single individual, in the single insects. So it's very important that like the group survives, and so for that reason, basically, it's very, very unlikely that like the neurological system, which was also very energy intensive, is so developed to feel pain, and also to create the connection between what is going around our like the emotion and everything else that is connected for the creation of the sensation of pain. So it's a very difficult topic, but most of the scientists believe that insects don't feel pain, or at least don't feel pain the way we can imagine it. So like maybe something else, maybe something extremely different from our understanding of pain. That said, we think that like every living thing should be treated with respect, of course. And regarding the farming of insects, actually the last steps are quite important. I think that there is they're treated in a way that is very different from the way that cows, for example, or chickens are treated. So basically, to kill the insects, basically you lower the outside temperature where they're found, and these insects then go in a sleeping mode phase where they don't feel any pain, basically, and after that they are freezed, and after they're processed. So basically, it's even if they feel something going through the sleeping phase, they actually in that moment they don't feel anything. We are 100% sure of that.
So the argument is very powerful, because on one side, they don't, in order to feel pain, they need the brain architecture that defines pain the way we human define it, and that's already like powerful. But on top of that, even if they do feel some form of pain, then there is a very ethical, so to speak, if we can call it that way to kill insect in general, in a way that to minimize eventual suffering that can emerge. So it's definitely like two very strong positions in favor of consuming insect instead of other kind of animals. That's an awesome point for sure. Okay, let's switch gear a little bit. Let's talk about insect in more like popular context, such as like foodies. And I would start with maybe how exactly insects are seen in the high cuisine. So chefs, for example, they tend usually to be innovator, they tend to be a researcher, they tend to take cultures and use their own intelligence to sort of manipulate into dishes different ingredients. So what is your experience in the intersection between high cuisine and edible insects?
So actually, we don't have any experience because we never tried in a high cuisine and a Michelin star restaurant any kind of insect. But at the same time, we know that there are a lot of different chefs all around the world that they have been experimenting quite a lot using insect as an ingredient, so as another ingredient in making this amazing dishes. And one of them, so I'm not sure actually of what I'm saying, but I'm quite sure, is so the first one, the first Michelin star chef who used in his cuisine edible insects, I think it was René Redzepi, and he's a Danish chef, and he's the co-owner of Norma.
Correct, yeah.
That is one of the most famous and the best restaurant in the world. I guess they won.
Yeah, it used to be in 2000, I think 17 or 16. It was number one in the San Pellegrino ranking. And
yeah, I think more than like 4 years, 5 years in a row, something like that.
Correct.
So, and so it's not just him. There is also Alex Atala, and there is also Carlo Cracco. So there are a few chefs. What is important for us is just that is another way. So is another way to consider insect not just as food, but as an amazing ingredient. So as something you should start experimenting with and you should start creating with at the same time. And so of course it's completely different from what we are doing as small giants, but at the same time it's very important. It's also important just for like the popular culture. So totally. Just to know that sometimes people consider insect to be a food for poor people, and people are eating insect around the world just because of food scarcity, and it's not like that. So of course sometimes in the human history this could have happened, but at the same time people choose to eat insects. So at the same time, to reinforce this kind of concept, it's important to see them as also a Michelin star ingredient. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, using the leverage of a famous chef definitely helps out the full movement in a way. So it's it kind of makes sense, and I'm sure it has an impact. Then, of course, the big creation of René Redzepi then might drive some sales from your side, because people get curious and they want to try out. So that's definitely something to consider, absolutely in a positive way. All right, let's now talk about the legal aspect of edible insect, the market, how it works. How it's been evolving over the years, and what is the current situation. So this is a big question, which essentially starts probably in Asia, and then it comes to Europe, but I don't know much, so you guys take it from here, and let's try to have a big picture, and then let's focus, laser focus on what is happening today. I mean, in the past months, because there has been big news recently, and I'm very curious to have this wide picture.
Yeah, so again, this is a very long, it will be a very long answer to your question, but more in general, insects have been part of the food cultures of Asia, Africa, and so many other countries, for example, even Mexico, South America. So basically all over the world, they have been food, and they've been a normal food for the local communities. So there was no need to have like a special rules or a decision, should we allow this or not. It was just part of their diet as like, I don't know, it's beef or chicken here. So it was actually the same stuff. So in this country, there was actually no discussion about the safety of insects because they've eaten them for millennia. So it doesn't make sense to question the safety of insects. In Europe, it's a little bit different, of course. We are not very used to eat insects, and basically insects now are regarded as novel food. It means they were not part of the culinary tradition of Europe before 1997. And and there was a little bit of debate about that because, like, for sure in the past, like in the previous centuries, there was a use of insects in the cuisine. Like there was like also some dishes from the Romans with insects. So we know that, for example, the Romans were using insects in sometimes, not always, but there were some dishes that were also considered delicacies for that time. So there was consumption, and there still is some consumption. For example, in Sardinia, there is a cheese, casu marzo, which is like the translation is rotten cheese, which is made also with flies. So basically, the flies. There are some eggs, in the cheese. And basically they give, like after they grow, they become larvae, and the larva basically digest all the cheese, and after like it becomes very creamy. Like, wow. Seems a little bit like extreme, but actually it's quite popular in the northern part of Sardinia. And there are some, like there is a very similar use of flies also in Germany, like again with cheese, and again with the contamination of cheese with flies, eggs, and so on. So there was a little bit of a debate regarding this decision about it's a novel food, so it's a novelty. It's not part of our rules. It's not part of our culinary tradition. It was not very popular, like we agree on that, but there was also some example of uses of insects as a food. But anyway, that was the decision. So from that point onwards, basically you need an approval to introduce an insect on the market. And this whole process started in 2018. And right now we are seeing the first approvals coming.
So what is who's the authority that regulates this approval in the European Union in general?
So the European Union, it works like that. There is EFSA, which is the European Food Authority, which is based in Parma, Italy. And they decided that basically they give the scientific approval. So this is the first step, and after there is a more bureaucratical step. So after that, basically the European community decided, okay, we have the green light from the scientists, so we can add it to the list of food that can be eaten.
But the scientists basically just give you the confirmation that is food for safe consumption for humans, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And they don't, like at the moment, all the applications have been for a novel food without prior consumption in other countries. So they are basically analyzing everything as if it was like a completely novel food or something else. So they don't look at the past consumption in Thailand or other stuff. Like it was also another potential route, but actually there was no application, no request for approval for what is called a traditional food in third countries. There was no application basically because after that, like the time frame of this approval is very short. But the risk is that like one of the European member states say, I don't agree with that. And so the whole process should have restarted. So most of the companies decided to apply for a totally brand new novel food approval. And so you have to provide a lot more scientific information and scientific details, and it takes of course a lot of time to analyze all that and to see like, okay, it's a safe product in this amount, if it's a safe product when you cook it the way, it's a safe product when you use it for I don't know, protein bars, it's a safe product when it's eaten as a whole insect.
Perfect.
So it's very long process. It needs a lot of details as an application, and also during the review of the application. And this is the reason why from it has been like almost 3 years now, and we are seeing only right now the first application being approved. So we have seen the Tenebrae molitor, the mealworm, basically has been fully approved. So basically you can sell it, and you can find potentially in shops and other stuff. And we have got also the first approvals, scientific approvals for the crickets. This is the latest news, and actually it's quite important for us, of course. And after also Locusta, locust, and I don't remember the fourth one. Maybe Francesco can help me.
Yeah, actually, I don't know, because it was Acheta domesticus, Locusta migratoria, Tenebrae molitor, and maybe another. No, who's?
Yeah, I think there was another worm, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
So these guys essentially passed the first test, which is okay, stamp of approval. The European, the EFSA says it is safe for human consumption, and now there is the bureaucratic part that is triggered and that need to be fulfilled, right? Before you guys can actually sell like crickets in general, like cricket product on the market retail, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the bureaucratic part is basically there is no decision to be taken. It's 100% sure that once they have
wow, great news.
Approval, it's almost automatic, but it takes quite a bit long. I don't know, approximately 4-6 months, something like that.
Okay.
So it's an automatic process, but it requires some time, of course, because the parliament doesn't meet every day, and they don't have the time to discuss about new food every session. So it requires a little bit of time, but there is no no risk that once they have the scientific approval, they won't be approved in the end. So by the end of the year, so early later 2021 or early 2022, we expect to be able to sell all over Europe. Because at the moment, what is happening in the between, of course, there were some transitional measure, and also some countries were allowing them as an exception, basically. So, for example, you could find insects on the market in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in some in Germany, but not all the areas, because it's a federal state, for example. So food laws are determined at a regional level, and also now in Portugal. So we have quite a lot of new opportunities in Portugal as well as a company, but also in Denmark and other countries. And in the UK, our company is based in the UK, so it's also something that it's quite important, the law in the UK for us. And basically it changed a lot with Brexit, because before Brexit, the UK government was very, very open to edible insect and was actually promoting the industry a lot. But after Brexit, basically they decided this approach where they are importing and copy pasting all the laws from the European Union.
Oh, wow.
And so basically now you have to submit a new approval, not to the EFSA, but to the FSA, which is the British Food Authority. And so the whole process restarts again. And again, they are talking about transitional measures and other stuff, but it's still not 100% clear what is the situation at the moment in the UK, because they are basically rewriting everything as we speak.
So Brexit really had a strong impact on the market because you guys first you were like testing the British market because it was very prolific and open to this kind of foods. Now is kind of the opposite, where Europe opened up and you're ready, and Britain is tightening up the policies on approval, so it's changing. That's very interesting, very interesting. So good news on one side, well, less good news on the other side. But the good thing is that you kind of managed to test a little bit the waters directly, and this is a great segue to actually talk about your project, which is Small Giants. So let's start from zero. What is Small Giants, and how did Small Giant get started?
Okay, I will give you an overview about how we started and what we are doing at the moment. So let's start from now. So at the moment we are an insect-based food brand, and we are focusing mainly on insect-based savory snacks. So our idea and our mission at the moment is that we want to help people. We want a lot of people to try insect in the West for the first time. And we think the best way and viable and the most valuable way to do that is to create and to bring to the market some insect-based, healthy and yummy snacks. Everything has started just let's say 4 or 5 years ago. So everything has started just as we were talking a little bit before here together as some conversation between me and Eduardo, and a few months after, just after a while, also Andrea, who is another co-founder, joined us. And actually, it has not been changing a lot during the years. So we started exactly with this same idea. And maybe the first thing we did is we got back home. We bought online some cricket powder and we tried to make some crackers. And actually, that was the very first time both Eduardo, Andrea, and I, we were trying to baking some crackers. So
wow, that's fascinating. So it's really hands-on approach. Like, let's make product, let's eat it and see if it's good.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, we didn't have, any experience in food, and we didn't even have an experience in baking some goods. So it was just the very beginning for all of us. And we wanted to understand, so hands-on is helping at the same time to understand what is feasible, what is not. So as a first step, we understood that was possible. So there was a second step that was convincing people of our idea. So actually, the second step we did was exactly that one. So we create a video in which we were explaining the idea, and this gave me a chance also to speak about my personal background is in information design and communication design, and Andreas one as well, while Edo, he was working as a business analyst. So actually what has driven us is just the idea. So we started with the idea, but we didn't have a background in that kind of field, but we thought the idea was a good one. So we wanted to follow the idea and to see where it was heading us. And so after a while, the next one was, so we start not just on the communication side, but at the same time we wanted more people to try the product. And so we decided to start doing some events, and the events, we were at the same time, we were speaking about, we were talking about this topic, and we were also inviting a lot of different people. So I don't know, sometimes one time could have been a book writer, and he was writing a book about edible insect in general. Another Another time I could have been a scientist, so a researcher, a lot of different people. So at these events, at that time we were, the three of us, we were working in Turin. So we were working in another field. So we were working in design actually, but we were organizing this kind of events, and actually they were quite successful. So we got a lot of people to try not just insect actually, but a lot of other alternative food, alternative protein at the same
So
time.
you were baking during the day, and then at weekends you would go to events. So that's really, you know, hands-on. Like, let's get stuff. You know, let's get people to try things and let's get feedback. Love it, absolutely. No, that's awesome. But what kind of events was it? Was it an event about food in general? Was it street food fairs? How did you guys approach people? You guys went specific, or you were trying to cater the broad audience?
Yeah, I have to say we were very creative. So we were doing a lot of different stuff. So in one case, we just participated to a huge event that was held every 2 years in Turin, and is Terra Madre del Salone del Gusto. So in that case, it was a mass event. So with 100,000 people coming to Turin to join the event. And in that case, for example, we had a stand. So in the stand, there were just a lot of people passing by. At the same time, we always participate in the Maker Fair, which is another huge event in Rome. And also in that case, there are thousands of people passing by, and we are talking about the topic in general, and also people has the possibility to try the product. But we did at the beginning, we did a lot of different stuff. So we were also organizing like a proper meal. And actually, other two co-founders were Stefano and Marco, and they are two chefs, professional chefs. So at that time, we were also focusing on let's say high cuisine, and experimenting quite a lot. And this has been, and then there were also other kind of events. In that case, was more about talking about the topic. So or people sitting down and listening to this kind of new topic.
So how did you narrow down from, you know, trying different things, making people taste, you know, high cuisine, maybe some breads, some focaccia and everything, to snacks? What was the process there? Because I'm sure you guys kind of started broad, and that's a great strategy. And then little by little, there was a narrowing down of product. And I'm curious on how exactly did you guys manage to do that? And on top of that, what made you click in your mind saying, okay, this thing is gonna fly, let's go all in on the snack, let's forget for now about the high cuisine, and let's do this only exclusively?
Yeah, so I think, yeah, actually there were a lot of different factors at the same times, of course, but one of them was the feasibility. So, for example, making other kind of products and making also fresh products is completely different, and it's way more difficult than making as we are doing a dry product. And so this one was one factor. At the same time, during the events and talking with a lot of people and getting the feedback of a lot of people, we also understood that the people, that was very, very easy. I mean, of course it's like that, but when you see it, it was way easier to try for the first time this kind of new food, just just in the shape of a cracker. So
Totally.
it is a completely, it was just under our eyes, and we started from maybe these two different factors, but at the same time we wanted to have something that was easy for people to introduce in the diet, and we were witnessing that a lot of snacks were not that healthy. So the idea was to combine all together and to have these kind of new products, but also as a gateway. So as something easy for people to try, and then to discover the rest of the whole world of edible insect, but it's just a very easy step, easy
Cool.
first step.
Awesome. So to kind of support this cause, I would also talk about the branding, because your branding is extremely playful and light and ironic. So I think it's a great approach to the market, especially when it comes to this kind of product. So where you guys get inspiration? How did you get to that point, which is to me extremely powerful and very straight to the heart of the people.
So actually, we also in this case we were trying to we were experimenting a lot. So we had a few different brands. So we started everything with a first brand was called Addento, and then we decided to change it and to reshape completely the identity. So not just the visual identity, but more in general the brand identity. And it became Criquet. And then again, we decided to move forward. And the last one, and the current one, is Small Giants.
Wow.
In that case, actually, both Andrea and I, we are a communication designer. So let's say that the first two brands we created were kind of a sandbox for us to start experimenting and to start understanding the way we wanted to go. And then the last year, we gained some investments, and we decided to use some of the new budget we had to invest in the new brand identity. So we started working with a London-based creative agency that is called Midday, and also with an illustrator, a Brazilian illustrator, and his name is Fernando Molina. So Fernando Molina actually is the creator, is the mind and hands behind the giant creatures we have in the website and in the packaging. So it was kind of a joint venture. It was working all together, but we realized, we understood that it was not possible for us to create everything. So we wanted also to have someone having a completely different approach, and someone that actually was very expert in the field, just doing that all the day long, all the years long, for many, many years. So,
awesome. Let's talk about the name. Like I never ask you, where is the name Small Giants from? I'm sure you get asked this all the time, so let's see.
Yeah, actually, it's a very quick and easy answers, because Small Giants is nothing else than what crickets are, in our opinion. So they are small giants. Giants because they are, of course, they are tiny creatures, but they have, at the same time, they have, they could bring to us giant benefits, and yeah, they can give us giant advantages. So we are talking about, again, the nutrition, and also we are talking about the sustainability. So they are small, but at the same time, they are giants. And in this case, we wanted to be evocative at the same time. So at the same time, we are trying to go direct to the point, but also leaving the possibility to imagine something different that is not just insect. Maybe it could be something different.
Awesome. All right, let's talk about maybe ingredients and processing in general, about the current product. So the current product are snacks. They come in 3 flavors, and maybe let's talk more about where the ingredients are sourced and how do they get on the shelves. So let's a little summary of all the flow of production, just to explain exactly how everything is sourced and manufactured.
Okay, maybe I will start with just the ingredients, just to give an overall idea of how they are made of, and then Edo will help us with the supply chain. So actually, they are insect-based savory snack. This is the main idea of the whole brand. So not just this product range, but also the next product families. We would like them to be exactly like this one. So insect-based savory snacks. In the case of the current range that we have, they are called cracker bites because actually they are cracker bites. So they are very tiny crackers, tiny and very, very crunchy crackers. And we wanted this cracker not to be just to be in between of a crisp and a cracker. So to be perceived as a proper snack for any time of the day. They are mainly made of wheat flour. And the second ingredient actually is cricket powder. So we use a cricket flour or a cricket powder that we mix with all the other ingredient in the process. And then there is extra virgin olive oil. And then for each flavor, of course, we have different flavorings. They are all the ingredients we use are 100% natural ingredients, and we don't use any artificial one. And so each of them is a little different, maybe not just a little bit different, quite different. So one is with tomato oregano, the other one is with thyme and rosemary, while the other one is with turmeric and smoked paprika. So you have three different flavors, but the base, the core of the product is the same.
Oh, fantastic. In terms of the raw material, they come from Asia, right? So talking about the cricket flour, some of the most reliable supplier of cricket flour come from Asia. So let's maybe talk about that. Why this choice in particular?
Yeah, this is very interesting. So first, like one of the reasons that like Thailand, they have like a huge culture about eating insects and also farming insects. And actually, there are like more than 20,000 farms of edible insects in Thailand. So they are really expert in doing this. Like, of course, they are micro farms. They're very small, maybe for the local communities. But this is to show how spread is the culture of eating insects in Thailand, especially in the northern part of Thailand, but also like almost everywhere in Southeast Asia. You can find, for example, I tried tarantulas in Cambodia. So like there is a little bit of everything, and this is totally normal for them. But like Thailand, they're very like real expert in farming crickets. So this is like and they're the largest exporter of edible insects in the world. So this is one of the reasons. And many people think, oh, like there is the transportation environmental impact, and so like why you're not farming it in Europe or closer to Europe. And actually, sometimes we tend to overestimate the impact of transportation, especially for proteins and for animals. For example, there was a study about lamb. This is quite interesting. Actually, in the early 2000s, there was this university study about lamb, and it was compared like the production of lamb in the UK and importing it from New Zealand. And actually, it was like more environmentally sustainable to import it from New Zealand.
Wow.
Rather than like
how is that possible? Is it the practices, the scale economies, the economy of scale in New Zealand? What was the angle?
Yeah, actually it depends. It really depends on the habitat. Like, so basically the lamb and sheep and all these animals are basically free in New Zealand, so they just walk, eat the grass, and that's it. They don't like they are not reared in a facility or something like that, so they are not fed with food and other stuff. So basically, it's a very natural environment. While in the UK, they are farmed, they are grown specifically for consumption, basically for human consumption. So basically, you have to give water, you have to give feed to grow them. So all these resources more are even have a bigger impact compared to the transportation. And the situation with insects is actually similar, but one of the key aspects is that they are cold-blooded animals, and so it means that they need a quite high temperature to thrive and to live. So, and this is also a reason why we see more insects during the summertime rather than winter, because like they live, they multiply basically with high temperature. So they need crickets, for instance, they need a temperature around 30 degrees Celsius, which is something that is like basically happens like all the year in Thailand. They have like a subtropical climate, so it's basically they don't need any heating and stuff. While in Europe, of course, especially during winter and during the autumn, you would need some heating, and this is very energy consuming. And this is the main reason. And yeah, and also with insects, there was a study regarding the sustainability of farming insects in Thailand and Southeast Asia, importing into Europe versus the option of farming them directly to Europe. And it was also confirmed that it's more sustainable to farm it in Thailand and that they're importing it.
Wow,
So,
fascinating, super fascinating.
yeah, it was really surprising also for us, but it was like very interesting to know. And it's also good that this way we can support the local communities also over there, because this is something that we care, like the social impact of these. And like as I said, there are a lot of very small farms in Thailand, and this way you can basically support local communities. And regarding the quality of the cricket flour, actually, our supplier has a certification which is called BRC. It's not very well known, but it's very, very important for the food industry. And so, like, we have the peace of mind that it's a very high quality product, very safe, no contamination whatsoever. So it's really, really important also for us. And this is like the cricket flour is from Thailand. All the other ingredients are from Europe. So like the wheat flour, extra virgin olive oil, and so etc. So, and they are all basically mixed. And the crackers are made in the Netherlands, where we have our co-manufacturer is based in the Netherlands. So basically, we don't farm the insects, and we don't own a manufacturing facility. Basically, we are a very lean startup. Actually, this is something that we quite like also, because we think it could be helpful in the future, because at the moment we are doing crackers, but we are also thinking about, I don't know, tortilla chips and other potential products and line extensions. And if you invest a lot of money in the production facility, basically you have one production line, and after like to make tortilla chips, you have to create and another production line. So it's very capital intensive, and we don't like them much. We like to be able to change as much as possible, experimenting as much as we can.
Awesome. So let me give you now, I mean, excellent stories and excellent information, very fascinating, not intuitive at all. So really, it's something that you need to research to really shed some light on some business elements for sure. So let me give you some uncomfortable questions and then see. So why is Small Giants different from competition? There are other people manufacturing snacks, manufacturing like bars, pasta with insect flour and so on and so forth. Even people doing flour itself. So why is Small Giant different from competition?
Yeah, of course, there are a lot of competitors at the moment popping up everywhere, basically in Europe and also in North America, because like as we said, like it makes sense So also a lot of people see the potential of edible insects. So it's natural that there are like other competitors. A lot of competitors are still focusing on the whole insects, so the whole cricket, the whole mealworm, and it's like it can be a fun experience to try for the first time, but we think it's not really useful. You are not going to use it as a proper food like a lot if it's whole, because it's really you're not used to use it in your normal routine, daily routine. So it's difficult to add something that is completely new. Probably it's easier to try something that is like a familiar shape, but also to use it on an everyday basis. And yeah, the other one, for example, there are some other companies focusing a lot on nutrition. So protein bars, energy bars, and product like this. And we actually think like it's a good niche because of course like people that do sports and are very active, they're interested in this type of products because they're very high protein, very healthy products. So it makes sense. On the other side, we see that there is a much bigger audience. Like there is uh, basically all the people that like trying new food could be very excited about our products. And also, yeah, as I mentioned, like savory snacking is very easy to try for the first time. So generally we want to, like our mission in general is to get as many people as possible to try insects. So we thought that savory snacking was a very good way to achieve that.
Awesome. Fantastic. So second uncomfortable question. Let's talk about pricing. So buying a regular snack is cheap. Buying a cricket snack is way more expensive. So why do I need to pay a premium price to eat some crickets actually?
Yeah, this is in part true. So like first, we have to explain why it is a little bit more expensive. So it's still a niche market. So the raw materials generally like are quite expensive, and in particular, cricket flour is quite expensive. To give you an idea, like what we pay cricket flour is around 20 euros, 20 pounds per kilo. So it's quite expensive. Wheat flour is like less than €1 per kilo. So it is a very different cost of manufacturing things. But also, like from a customer perspective, we think it makes sense at the moment because we are bringing in the nutritional advantages, so the protein, the vitamin B12, something that you don't have at all in an average cracker. So from a customer perspective, like you get something, like it's not like it's premium and that is not justified. So there is basically you can have like one of our crackers and not having I don't know some ham or some cheese because you already have the protein within the cracker. And also, as mentioned, like it's sort of supporting an industry that is growing at the moment. So there is also that part, which I think is like, I think a lot of people can understand. Of course, with volumes and with the growth of the demand, also the price of the cricket power will decrease. And actually, this is something that we have seen already when we started like baking in our house, a lot of years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. The price of the cricket flour was minimum 40 euros per kilo, and now it's 20. So
Wow.
like the difference in just 5 years is amazing. And we expect that with the growth of the overall industry, the price will decrease a lot also in the next 5-10 years.
Let's talk maybe about the markets. Like, how is it moving? So, I guess intuitively that Asia is probably the biggest consumption. I mean, the biggest consumer of cricket flour in general. And how is Europe moving, and how big it is? If you have some numbers from the top of your head, just to have an idea in terms of the market size, the TAM, the TAM, the total addressable market in a way. So, I'm curious about this.
Yeah, I don't remember on top of my head. I think it's like for sure it's less in Europe. It's less than 1 billion, so like it's relatively small. but I think by in the next 5 years it will become like 8 billion industry. So it will grow a lot, and yeah, there is a lot of interest and like a lot of expectation for the next 5-10 years regarding edible insects. Basically, most of the studies predict a growth similar to what we have seen for the plant-based industry and plant-based protein. So basically, we are just starting to see the same growth for the edible insects. It's just a little bit behind in terms of time frame. So we are more in an early stage, but we think, and like actually all the analysts believe, that there is a very huge potential for the industry. And yeah, so in Europe, there was this problem with laws and with the novel food legislation. So it was slowed down a little bit by this fact. For example, in North America, there was not such a problem. So we have seen a little bit more of new companies and other stuff. So there are a couple of companies promoting bars with insects. Is a little bit more active. But still, also over there is not yet like a fully grown industry, not at all. It's quite niche, and there is a lot of potential to grow.
Fantastic! Wow, super exciting. One element that I really enjoy about the company, about Small Giants, and you know, the details really make the difference, is the plastic neutral sort of approach in terms of the program that you're following, the rePurpose Global. So if you can spend a few words on that.
Yeah, Edo, or I should go.
Bye, Fran.
Okay, so there is actually there is a big challenge and a big problem in general with the material you use for packaging the food. And in our case, is almost impossible to use something is not plastic, for two different factors. One is for the shelf life. So our products have a shelf life that is over 1 year. So we want to keep this kind of a shelf life in order not to have also food waste. And on the other hand, we are using oil. So in our product, there is oil. And in this case, at the moment, there is no compostable bioplastic that is on the market and is to use for us. So actually, the approach we had on this is just to try to see everything from another point of view. So the point of view is, if we cannot change at this particular moment the material, the plastic material that we are using for our packaging, what we can do is to give back to give back to all of those activities around the world that are trying to reuse the plastic and are trying to collect the plastic from the nature. So at the moment, we are a plastic neutral company. Just because of that, because we calculate all the plastic footprint in our supply chain, and we are investing back to all these kind of activities. And so, for example, there is one company in India that we are baking, and they are doing exactly this. So they are collecting from the nature all the plastic waste, and they are trying to use the plastic in other ways, or even just to dispose in a proper way the plastic. So our approach in this case was to have another point of view on the whole situation. And then also this one is like a very big topic to talk about. There is a lot of different stuff we can say, but this is just to give an overview.
Fantastic. All right. So, what are the future plans for the company? Where are you guys going in the next 6 to 12 months? What are the news that people should expect to happen?
So at the moment, we are mostly working on the line extension. So we understand that at the moment, having just one family of products is not enough. So if someone is willing to try something different than the cracker bites that we have at the moment, it's not possible because it's taking a lot of time. So for the next at the moment, the plan is to have a new product family by the end of the year, the beginning of the next year, and then to have one new a new range of product every year. And
Wow, awesome.
at the same time, we are working to extend the business. So we are working mostly in Europe at the moment, and we will be expanding in Germany mostly, and
Perfect.
also in the Nordic country.
Perfect. Fantastic. All right. So, guys, thank you so much. We're hitting almost 1 hour and a half. It was a great conversation. Really enjoyed a lot of very interesting and insightful information. Let's talk about how to order actually your product from different countries, and what's the website, how people can reach you. What's the process here if someone wants to buy the products.
Yeah, actually, it's very easy. It's like the classic process to buy a product. So just head to our website, that is Eat Small Giants. So like Eat, EIT, Small Giants, our brand.com. And then everything is pretty straightforward. So you can order online and we will.
And you ship internationally, worldwide, with no particular restriction, right? I mean, it's what is the deal here? Like, I know that the product arrived in Italy. We tested it. I know the product go around Europe pretty easily. So yeah, pretty available.
I mean, people are in Europe is way easier, but anyway, we have also option for extra European countries.
Fantastic. And I really like the taster. So Small Giants has a taster package with essentially like all the current flavors, so people can really have a good selection of the different products. So I really recommend it. And with that, thank you guys for joining me again. Great conversation, and I hope we do it again, talking about some other elements and some new developments. So until then, thank you so much, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you very much, Giacomo.
Thank you.
Thank you.